Hello everybody, welcome to Also Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already and drop a like on this video. This channel is very nearly at 50k subscribers, so I'd very much appreciate it if you subscribed, especially if you're somebody who watches these videos routinely, especially coming over from my main channel. I imagine a lot of these videos get recommended to you, and if you're clicking on them, then you might as well just subscribe so you can see all of them. And also go check out this podcast, not this podcast, these videos / podcast over on audio platforms if you prefer to consume this content that way. This time around, I'm going to be talking about Clippers versus Mavericks. This was Game 5, and Game 5 is the most important when the series is tied 2-2, which this one obviously was, and the Mavericks won this time around. There was a lot of rhetoric and a lot of concern around the Clippers, around the Mavericks, suggesting that the Clippers kind of had this one in the bag, like the series momentum had turned the other way in the Clippers' favor. And I disagreed with that notion because to me, Game 4 in particular, and a lot of Game 3 was just nobody's making their shots. Game 3, it was Luka's making shots, but nobody else is. Game 4, it's Luka's not making shots, and neither is anyone else, so they're kind of fucked. And that's exactly what that was in those two games. So it was like, yeah, that was the difference of just like I can't talk. The Clippers were not doing a much better job defending the Mavericks outside of just going to the small ball lineup, which is definitely better. But other than not allowing switches, it was still basically the same. And as a result, like the looks that the Mavericks were getting were fine, just not quite good enough, I guess, because they were not making them. And the first two games, the Mavericks were shooting impeccably. The Clippers were having games where they weren't shooting the best, although I believe Kawhi went off in Game 2 in the first half at the very least. But it really was just a factor. And all four of those games, really, like, this team's hitting shots, this one isn't. Like, Game 2 as well, or Game 3, Paul George was like 10 for 12 in the first half. Kawhi Leonard shot like 70% that game. Game 4, Kawhi shot like 70%, had like 30-something points. So really it was just the matter of the shooting kind of changing tides. Game 5 was by far the most even affair in terms of these team shots are going in at about an equal rate. So we ended up getting a close game as a result. Not that any of those other four games weren't close, although it was not as close as this one, I don't think, unless my memory is terrible, which it is, so that could be very well possible. But this time around, it was very much even in terms of both of what these teams were trying to do was working to the degree that you would expect it to. So the Clippers had I'm actually going to look at the box score just to confirm this before I find that I'm talking out of my ass. This is a thing that happens, is like you're watching the game and things seem to be going normally, and they're like, oh, wait a minute, role player X has 70 points. But okay, so the Mavericks go 39% from 3 with 14 makes, and the Clippers go 37% with 14 makes. So my eyes did not deceive me. Both of these teams shot relatively well from 3. From the field, not quite as much. Actually, goddamn, these teams are literally like neck and neck. Although the the Mavericks did get 9 more field goal attempts, so that's something. And there was definitely a little bit of a turnover issue, especially later in this game for the Clippers. There were a couple of pretty pivotal turnovers, one in particular with Terrence Mann. I guess it wasn't a turnover. No, that play wasn't really a turnover. It was just a sloppy play because he passed it to Batum, who missed the layup and missed the follow-up. But just some questionable handling of things in this game, which resulted in the Mavericks getting a couple of more possessions and them winning this game ultimately, because this one was won by the Mavericks 105-100. So one of my first questions has to be, is it possible for any of these teams can either of these teams win on their home floor? Now, if it's the case of the Mavericks where they only win on the opponent's floor, then they'll win a championship because they're like this. Was it the 6th seed? And they will not have home court advantage in literally every matchup they get. So, maybe, but that's not really how it works. But once again, this time Clippers, they have the home court advantage, although Staples Center is really just like we were watching it on Zoom, and I think it was Denver who pointed out like there are fans in the arena wearing Lakers jerseys right now, probably pulling for the Mavericks. And I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, neither of these teams have won in their home court. That's the point I'm trying to make. And if that's how it's going to continue, then the Mavericks are about to lose Game 6, and they're going to win Game 7, so they're going to win the series. So unless the Clippers break that tide, the series is over. But Luka in this one, while he had 42 points, he sure as shit shot a lot of shots to get to it. Now, initially, I don't know why I can't talk today. I've fucked up so many words already. Initially, he started off the game 5 for 5 from 3 and I think 8 for 10 from the field, something like that. He had 17 points with 2 minutes left in the first quarter. I don't know if he scored a little bit after that, but he was obviously going off 5 for 5 from 3. There was one in particular that was incredibly difficult, and it just dropped like he was on the playground. He shoots like he doesn't respect this team. It's because he doesn't. He doesn't respect this team at all. So not only does he want to beat the Clippers, but he wants him to be the reason why it happens on a dramatic scale. 42 points, 8 rebounds, 14 assists, 46% from the field. So he shot the ball 37 times to get to 42 points. Now, this is not a criticism of Luka. He still had a good game, but I think he had a 44-point game, and I know it definitely wasn't on this many field goal attempts. It's also shocking that Luka shot the ball 37 times and went to the line twice. That's insanity. And Luka, I haven't really mentioned it in these videos, but Luka at the free throw line has been a big element of this series. I haven't had a chance. It's slipped my mind every time that I've talked about it because I'm too focused on how good he is, and then in Game 4 I was just focused on how much the injury affected him. But not getting to the line at all, I guess, is kind of a good thing because he's shooting 50% from the line in this series. But yeah, Luka was good. But at a certain point, I was like, maybe don't shoot the ball as much, because there was a couple of times where it's like, look, I realize you're going for the kill and you want to be the one that kills the Clippers, but maybe calm down 5%. Other than that, we got a solid enough contribution from everybody else. They started the game with Boban, which was interesting. I mentioned in Game 4 when talking about them, the Rick Carlisle tried to do a little bit of a chess move and be like, okay, we're gonna put Boban on that out there and force you to go big against us because obviously with your biggest player being Marcus Morris, you're not going to guard Boban very well. And he did end up playing 20 minutes, and he did all right in those minutes. But ultimately, when it came late, the Mavericks were going small and the Clippers were going small because the Mavericks, even though you're trying to get that mismatch with Zubac out there, unfortunately, it's not worth not having the floor spacing of Maxi Kleber out there, or really the defensive presence, the defensive versatility of not having him out there to guard Kawhi, who's his best matchup by far. So ultimately, even though you're getting the advantage of the switch, there's disadvantages that come with playing Boban as well. So not the best. So that was interesting. But this, like I said, ended up being a close game. Didn't look like it was going to be. It looked like the Mavericks had this one at about the 1 minute mark. They had a 10-point lead. But then Reggie Jackson hit a 3. Somebody else hit a 3. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Marcus Morris. Fuck if I know. And then suddenly it was a 2-3-point game. The Mavericks come down the court, try and score, but Terrence Mann steals the ball. And I do have to mention Terrence Mann. Wow, he had 4 points, but he made every steal and block that he got. He got 1 steal, 2 blocks. All felt huge. So credit to him, and I think he should be a bigger part of the rotation. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. So he gets the steal, goes up. Really, there was an opportunity for a layup, and he passed out of it to Batum. And really, I think that would have made a big difference. Kawhi proceeded to get an and 1 and got it to a 1-point game. I'm doing the math terribly, but this is how my brain is scrambled. He got the and 1-point difference, and then Tim Hardaway Jr., I think he got the and 1, and then the Terrence Mann play happened, and then he got fouled, and then Tim Hardaway hit 3 free throws. Clippers inbound to Kawhi, gets into the right corner, Dorian Finney-Smith on him, pump fakes from 3, does a little jab step, and then just fades over him with like 5 seconds left on the clock. Now, I understand Kawhi was probably in a position where he would have been trapped, and obviously bad position to be. Probably would have been forced out of bounds. Seconds, very little time to make decisions. So I think his mindset was, I'm going to throw up this three, and if it goes in, it goes in, because I'm in a bad position and there's not enough time to pass out of this. So I think that's what he was going for, but he airballed because it was great defense by Dorian Finney. Rondo yelled at Kawhi after, which, like, Rondo, I know you're a vet and all of that, but like the fucking gall to yell at Kawhi Leonard because he missed a shot when you can't make a fucking open three. Even though, like, technically he's been better at them in the last couple of years, I still can't. Like, he was 0 for 3 in this one, so clearly not today. But that, I just found that funny. Mavericks go to the line again. I think it was Josh Richardson who sealed it, and that's game. So that was a really good game, just a fantastic game. The series has been fantastic, and in terms of prediction, I think the way the series has been going, Clippers win Game 6, Mavericks win Game 7. I'm rooting for the Mavericks. I think I've made that pretty clear, and it's almost a little spiteful because I was initially a big Clippers fan. Like, not actually the Clippers fan, but like when this team was formed, I was all in on that's the championship team. I made a video on why they will win the 2020 championship, and then when I was challenged on that, I doubled down. I was so sure the Clippers were the next big thing, and then they disappointed me last year. So I was like, okay, Clippers, this time around, you're not going to disappoint me. And then they lose those first two games. So I was like, okay, fuck this team. I refuse to believe in them in any capacity anymore. And at this point, I just want to be wrong about them because it's more satisfying because at least they're losing in that situation. I realize it's kind of fucked up, but that's my mentality on them. So watching Luka just eviscerate this team is fun. Watching how disrespectful he is to this team is just fun. It's just this series in general is great, and the Clippers did a great job of bouncing back in games 2 and 4. Kawhi and especially could not miss. I think he shot over 70% for those games. This game around, I didn't actually talk about how the Clippers' offense performed that much, other than the fact that they were hitting their threes. Kawhi did not play great today. Paul George played fine once again. And Reggie Jackson, one of the did I mention the Reggie Jackson 3? I think I did. Reggie hit a big 3. He goes 6 for 12 from 3 in this one, which has got to be one of his better shooting performances of his career, honestly. I can't imagine Reggie has too many games where he's hit 6 or more threes. And he finished with 20 points. And ever since he's been inserted into the starting lineup, the Mavericks have been better. And I'm not much of a believer in Reggie Jackson, but, I mean, he's a starting point guard on a good team. And he's consistently been their best option at guard, even over Rondo, who's obviously a guy who can play make more. But Reggie has just been consistent as a shot maker. And what's weird about that is Reggie has never been known for consistency. So I don't know. That's a weird tidbit on Reggie Jackson. Anyways, that is it for this game. Tomorrow we have Portland versus Denver, which is an underappreciated series. Denver is up 3-2. Yesterday's game was obviously fantastic, or I guess it's technically 1 a.m. right now. So the game from 2 days ago was fantastic. Dame had 55. And then we get to see if the Suns will close out the Lakers. There's a possibility AD plays. Don't know for sure, though. So that will be interesting. But yeah, that is it. Check this out on audio platforms if you prefer to get it like that. That is the end of this video. Goodbye.